Tanzania is a large country in East Africa. It's one of the poorest countries in the world. Dareda is a village in the Babati district of northern Tanzania. The population density for the whole of Tanzania is 78, but it's less in rural areas like Dareda, which has a density of 54 people per square kilometre. That's quite low. Jacqueline Baltazari is 45 years old. She was born in Dareda, where she farms goats, cattle and crops. Jacqueline has 10 children, quite typical for the area.
Kwa kweli utakuta mtu anazaa mpaka watoto 10.
You'll find people in this village who have 10 to 15 children. Sometimes even more, that's if they still can. I have a neighbour here, she has had 25 children.
Most people in the area have farms, but many can't afford to employ farm workers. So children's contribution to the work on the family farm is really important. Average life expectancy in Tanzania is only 51. There are no state pensions and little nursing care for the old and weak. So many people rely on their children to care for and support them if they become ill or old. But in Tanzania, poor health services mean nearly 1 in 10 children die before their 5th birthday.
I myself have had 12 children. 2 of them died, and I've ended up with just 10.
Losing a child is a double blow, emotional and economic. So ensuring enough children survive into adulthood is another reason for large families. In Tanzania, less than 1 in 5 women use contraception. It's neither easily available nor traditionally acceptable. Having a lot of children can be a huge burden on the mother.
Frankly, looking after 10 children is hard work. And because the kids want to go to school, you find your money is limited. Schooling is expensive.
School fees were introduced by the government to help Tanzania pay off its foreign debts. Jacqueline is not unusual in Tanzania. Not only is it hard work for her, but by having so many children, she's added to her country's growing population. The population growth of a country is dependent on a number of factors. The number of people born in a certain year, the number of people who have died, and the number of people who have left or entered the country from abroad. If the birth rate of a country is higher than the death rate, then the population will increase. These days, population growth in Tanzania is over 2% a year. It sounds small, but if it continues, by 2025, the population is estimated to increase from 34 to 57 million. So Tanzania's population is growing quite rapidly. This can lead to both a burden on the individual family and the resources of the country as a whole. But things are starting to change. Temu is 25 years old. She migrated to the area in the early 1990s.
At the moment, I have 2 children, both boys. I might have only 3 children. I'd like to have a girl. She could then help me to fetch water.
Eloine is not alone in choosing to have a smaller family than is traditional. The average family size in the district is now around 5, compared with 7 10 years ago. Why? Eloine takes her 2 children to the local clinic for vaccinations and health checks. The clinic has been here for 4 years, so child health has improved in the area. The main reasons for children dying are malaria, diarrhea, pneumonia and malnutrition. 70% of children in the area are now vaccinated against the main childhood diseases.
Most kids, if they get all their vaccinations, could survive to adulthood. But again, it could still be bad luck, and they could get struck with malaria or malnutrition and die.
But does Eloine expect all her children to survive?
I think that if you have a house of 4 children, 1 death is to be expected. But that's not always the case. Most of the time it's because of lack of proper medical care and attention. But if they can afford to take their children to hospital, then even that one might live.
As more children survive into adulthood, people are now beginning to think that smaller families are more desirable. At the clinic, contraception is more easily available, so Eloine can now decide how many children she wants.
I have planned my family. I've already decided to have another baby, possibly in about 2 years. I think when you don't space them, they're harder to look after.
Eloine represents a new way of thinking in many parts of Tanzania. Education is very important to her and to her children.
Naona ni vizuri kwa sababu kwa nafikiria pengine hao watatu naweza nikawatunza.
I think I can afford to have 3 children. I'd like them to have a better education than mine. Because of these times that we live in, it's even more important than wealth. We have a proverb that says, education is an asset. You expect that if you give them education, they will be able to stand on their own 2 feet.
Kwa baadaye naye ataweza kujiendeleza yeye mwenyewe.
Although there is a trend away from large families, Eloine is the exception rather than the rule in Tanzania. Many women still have little access to healthcare and are very poor, so they still end up with lots of children. But the women of Dareda offer a glimpse of hope for the future of Tanzania.
If I was a young girl again, or if I was like a banana tree, when you cut the old tree, a shoot would grow out. I think I would only have 4 children. If I could have a talk with God, I would select 2 boys and 2 girls. Even if I had no boys, just 4.